The great Galactic Council Hall floated above a blue and gold planet, shining like a crown in space. Inside, thousands of alien representatives gathered under banners of different worlds. Each banner glowed with its own color, showing the pride of its people. In the middle of the hall stood Elder Varen, one of the oldest and most respected members of the council. His skin was pale and marked with glowing lines of silver, symbols of age and wisdom. His voice was slow but strong when he spoke. "The humans," he said, "they are coming, and they are not like us." For a moment, the great hall became silent. Then laughter broke the air. One of the counselors, a tall insectoid leader named Druktha, tapped his claws on the table. "Humans?" he said with a chuckle. "Those creatures from the third planet? They only just learned how to leave their own system." Another voice joined in, high and mocking. "They still argue about borders and politics. What threat could they ever be to the galaxy?" The laughter spread through the room. The elder closed his eyes. He had expected this. They always laughed. He had seen the signs, though. He had seen what humans did when they were afraid. He had seen what they did when they were challenged. "You don't understand," the elder said softly. "They are not like us. They grow stronger through chaos. They learn through pain." But no one listened. The council chair, a creature made of floating light and energy, waved its hand. "Elder Varen, your fears are unnecessary. Humanity is a young species. They will follow the same path as all others: trade, peace, and eventual order under the council." The elder only whispered, "You will see. They do not follow anyone's path but their own." The first signs months passed. The council went on with their debates, taxes, border treaties, resource agreements. The galaxy was calm, peaceful, or so they thought. Then the report started. First, a mining colony on the edge of the Veltra sector went dark. No signal, no survivors. Then a trade convoy disappeared near the Aura's belt. A few weeks later, a patrol ship sent a final message: static and screams. The council gathered again, this time worried. "Pirates," one of them said. "Or another rebellion," said another. Nothing new, but the elder stood again. His silver eyes glowed faintly in the blue light of the chamber. "No," he said. "It's not pirates. It's them. The humans." The council murmured in disbelief. "Impossible! Humans don't have ships that far out. They can't even cross half their own galaxy." Elder Varen replied, "They are fast learners. They copy what they see, and they never forget what hurt them." Still, no one listened. The visitors from Earth then, one day, human diplomats arrived. 3 of them, wearing simple dark uniforms with a small blue and white symbol: Earth United Nations Expedition. They smiled politely as they entered the grand hall. Their eyes moved quickly, studying every alien, every piece of technology, every security drone in the room. The council welcomed them warmly. The humans spoke of peace, of trade, of friendship. They offered medical advances, clean energy, and scientific cooperation. Everyone loved them, except the elder. He watched in silence, his mind uneasy. Later, he spoke privately with the council chair. "They are learning from us," he warned. "Every word, every device, every system you show them, they are recording it." The chair laughed softly. "And what will they do with it, Elder? Sell it? They are far too small to challenge the council." But the elder's voice was calm. "They don't need to challenge. They only need to understand. Once they understand us, they will change everything." The calm before the storm. For a time, peace continued. The humans built small stations on council worlds. They sent engineers, doctors, and teachers. Everyone said humanity was becoming civilized, finally part of the galactic family. But in secret, strange things were happening. Human ships were appearing in regions where no one had seen them before. They were seen near war zones, near pirate bases, near uncharted systems. When the council asked for reports, the humans smiled and said, "Exploration." Nothing more. The elder knew better. He could feel the change coming, like a storm far away but growing closer. The first shock: one quiet morning, the galaxy shook. A council war fleet in the Traven sector was ambushed. Every defense system failed. The ships were disabled without a single shot fired. When the survivors were rescued, they said they heard a strange voice in their comms before losing control of their ships. A human voice. The council met again, now in fear. "How could they do this?" one shouted. We never gave them that kind of technology. The elder's voice was low but clear. No, you didn't. You only showed them how it worked. The last warning, as the council argued, lights across the chamber flickered. Screens went dark. Power cut off. And then a message appeared on every display, written in one simple line of text. We warned you. Humanity. The hall went silent. The elder stood looking out the great window of the chamber where distant stars glowed like embers. He whispered, They have arrived. The Galactic Council was in chaos. After the mysterious shutdown of their war fleet, fear spread like wildfire across the stars. No one wanted to admit the truth, but deep inside, every council member knew who was behind it. Humanity had done something impossible. The elder had warned them, but they had laughed. Now their laughter had turned into silence. Entire systems began locking down their defenses, preparing for something they could not see, something they could not understand. Ships patrolled the skies, scanning for human fleets, but there were none. No invasion, no army, just silence. Yet that silence was heavier than any war. The humans had vanished from communication networks, withdrawn from council stations, and left behind only empty promises of peace. It was as if Earth had gone dark. But the galaxy soon learned that humans never went dark without reason. They were planning something. Weeks passed. Then reports began to surface again. Small outposts that had once ignored humans were now under new management. Human management. Without firing a single shot, humans were taking control of trade routes, mining colonies, and entire planetary economies. They used contracts, influence, and technology the Council did not even know they possessed. A few alien corporations tried to resist, but they quickly fell into debt or bankruptcy. Every time the Council tried to block them, a new loophole appeared. One written in their own laws the humans had quietly studied for years. Elder Varen watched the chaos unfold with no joy in his heart. He had seen this pattern before, not with humans, but with ancient species long gone. Yet humans were different. They were faster, bolder, and more unpredictable. He knew that humanity's rise would not come through conquest, but through control. And the Council was already dancing to their rhythm. When the Council finally decided to confront Earth directly, they sent a grand diplomatic fleet toward the Sol system. It was meant to be a show of strength. Hundreds of ships, banners of unity, and the brightest diplomats the galaxy could offer. The fleet arrived at Earth's orbit, expecting fear. What they saw instead left them breathless. Orbiting Earth were dozens of human warships, each larger than any vessel the Council had ever built. Their hulls shimmered with unknown alloys. Their engines glowed with energy far beyond standard plasma drives. It wasn't just a defense force, it was a declaration. Humanity had caught up, and perhaps had gone further. As the Council fleet sent a transmission requesting a peaceful meeting, no one responded. Minutes passed. Then a single message appeared on every ship's communication screen. You taught us how to speak to the stars. Now we will teach you to listen. Suddenly, every system in the Council fleet powered down. Weapons, shields, even life support. For a few seconds, they floated helplessly in the void, staring at Earth, glowing below like a blue jewel. Then just as suddenly, everything came back online. Humanity hadn't destroyed them. They had simply shown them how easily they could. When the Council representatives finally met the human delegation on a station orbiting Earth, they expected anger or revenge. Instead, the humans were calm, polite, and confident. They spoke with the same smiles they had used years ago, but there was something different in their eyes. A quiet power, the kind that comes from knowing no one can stop you. The lead human diplomat, a woman named Commander Alara, spoke softly, yet her words carried more weight than any weapon. The Council ignored us when we asked for unity. Now we are beyond asking. The aliens tried to negotiate, offering trade deals, alliances, even apologies. But the humans only nodded, taking notes, listening carefully. When the meeting ended, the Council representatives left uneasy, unsure whether they had just made peace or signed their own submission. Over the next few months, humanity's influence spread everywhere. They shared new technologies, clean energy, faster engines, medicine that could heal species long thought doomed. But every gift came with quiet control. Their ships patrolled borders. Their systems connected every world. And slowly the galaxy began to depend on them. The Council, once the most powerful force in the universe, now found itself needing permission for access to human-built networks and energy supplies. Elder Varen sat in his chamber, watching the stars. He remembered the day he had tried to warn them. Now it was too late. Humanity had not conquered through blood, but through brilliance. They had shown the galaxy what true evolution looked like. Where others saw limits, humans saw challenges. Where others gave up, humans adapted. The elder whispered to himself, they were never a threat. They were a lesson. And somewhere deep in the void, a human warship passed by, its engines glowing like fire, carrying humanity's message across the stars, that those who once dismissed them would now learn the hard way what it meant to be human. The galaxy had changed in only a few years. What began as curiosity about humanity had turned into quiet fear. The council world spoke of peace, but everyone knew the truth. Humanity was no longer a newcomer. They were a power now, stronger than anyone had ever imagined. Their fleets were faster, their technology more advanced, and their influence stretched across every major trade network. Even the old empires had started to depend on human-made energy cells, communication systems, and medicine. Humanity had found a way to control the galaxy without ever firing a weapon. But peace built on control is not peace. It is patience before the storm. Elder Varen watched this transformation from his quiet chamber on the council's homeworld. The stars beyond the window looked calm, but he could feel the tension building across every world. Old alliances were breaking. Some races started to whisper that the council had become weak, that they had surrendered to humans without resistance. Others believed humanity had saved the galaxy from stagnation, that without them the old order would have collapsed. But Varen knew better. He knew humans did not rise for peace. They rose because it was their nature to survive, to push forward even when the universe itself resisted them. Then came the first real test. A new threat appeared from the far side of the galaxy, an ancient machine race called the Varnok. They were silent for millennia, but suddenly reawakened, consuming entire worlds, feeding on energy, and leaving nothing but dust behind. The council panicked. Their fleets were strong, but the Varnok ships moved like shadows, phasing through shields, cutting through matter like light through glass. Every counterattack failed. World after world fell. The council begged humanity for help. At first, Earth did not answer. Their network stayed silent. Their ambassadors withdrew. Some believed humanity had abandoned the galaxy. Others thought they were waiting, watching. Days turned into weeks, and the Varnok army drew closer to the council capital. The elder, now frail and tired, stood once again in the Great Hall. The council demanded answers, demanded action, but none came. Then, as the capital's outer defenses began to fail, a message appeared on every screen in the chamber. This is Commander Alara of the Human Defense Fleet. Hold your fire. Reinforcements inbound. Moments later, the sky above the capital world lit up like dawn. Out of hyperspace came massive ships, sleek and dark, their engines burning like suns. The Human Defense Fleet had arrived. They didn't come to negotiate. They came to fight. Every ship moved in perfect coordination, every weapon fired with precision. The Varnok fleet, once unstoppable, began to falter. For every council world that had fallen, humanity reclaimed too. Within days, the impossible had happened. The Varnok invasion was broken. Humanity had saved the galaxy. When the last Varnok ship was destroyed, the stars fell silent again. The council expected humanity to celebrate. But there were no cheers, no parades. The humans simply began rebuilding, faster than anyone thought possible. They restored cities, repaired stations, and then, without asking permission, began establishing defense zones around major planets. The council quickly realized that these zones were not for protection. They were for control. Humanity now held the keys to the galaxy's defense network. Soon, every major decision required human approval. Energy routes were monitored by human ships. Interstellar communication relays were maintained by human engineers. Even the Council's private data channels were routed through Earth's new relay system. Some called it safety, others called it domination. But it was clear, humanity was now the center of everything. One night, Elder Varen received a visit from Commander Alara herself. She came alone, wearing a simple dark uniform, her eyes sharp but calm. She greeted the elder with respect, but there was no warmth in her voice. You warned them, Elder, she said quietly. And they didn't listen. Now the galaxy is safe because of us, but it will never be the same. The Elder nodded slowly. You have done what no empire could. You united the stars, through fear and necessity. Elara looked out the window, watching the glow of Earth's flag projected across the sky above the capital. We didn't want this, she said softly, but we couldn't allow weakness to destroy everything. The Council thought power meant control. They were wrong. Power means survival. Before leaving, she turned back and added, You once said we learn through pain. You were right, but the galaxy will learn too. When she was gone, the Elder sat in silence. He felt both pride and sorrow. Humanity had done the impossible. They had saved the galaxy, but at a terrible cost. Freedom was fading, replaced by unity enforced by human logic and precision. The Council, once arrogant and powerful, now obeyed the very species they had mocked. Weeks later, a new law was announced across every star system, the formation of the Galactic Alliance, led by Earth. Every world would join under a single charter, ruled by shared governance but managed by human oversight. Many resisted at first, but one by one they accepted, realizing that without humanity's protection, they would not survive another invasion. Elder Varen watched the signing ceremony from his chamber. He smiled faintly, whispering to himself, The children have become the teachers. And as he looked up at the stars, he thought of the day long ago when he stood in the council hall and warned them. He had been right, but not even he could have imagined the scale of what humanity would become. They were not gods, not conquerors. They were the storm that reshaped the galaxy. Outside, a fleet of human ships drifted silently above the capital, their lights blinking like stars. Every world below them looked up, knowing the same truth. The Council had dismissed the Elder's warning, and now the galaxy lived under humanity's shadow. Not by chains or war, but by the undeniable strength of human will. The galaxy was quieter now, but not peaceful. The new Galactic Alliance, led by humanity, had ended centuries of conflict between empires, yet tension lingered beneath the surface like heat beneath cooled stone. Every world had accepted the rule of Earth, at least in name, but the pride of old civilizations could not die so easily. They followed humanity's laws, used their technology, and depended on their fleets, but deep inside, they wondered how long before this alliance became an empire. Elder Varen lived long enough to see the change he had feared. Cities across the stars glittered with human architecture. Clean lines, glowing towers, efficient systems. Alien worlds began to resemble human colonies. Their cultures mixed. Their art faded, and their identities slowly reshaped to fit humanity's way of order. Many accepted this new era as progress, but others whispered in secret that the humans had stolen more than just leadership. They had stolen the galaxy's soul. For most, rebellion was unthinkable. The human defense fleet was everywhere, orbiting key planets, monitoring communications, and ensuring stability. But the more humans tried to maintain peace, the more resistance began to grow. Hidden across forgotten sectors, small groups of alien commanders gathered. They called themselves the Remnant, united by one purpose: to restore the freedom the Council once promised. They knew fighting humanity directly would be suicide, so instead they planned something else. Something older, darker, and far more dangerous. Among their ranks were scientists who remembered the ancient technology of the Varnok, the machine race humanity had destroyed. The Remnant began secretly rebuilding parts of that forgotten power, hoping to create weapons strong enough to challenge even Earth's fleets. But such experiments never remained secret for long. Within weeks, humans detected strange energy readings deep within the rim. Commander Elara, now Admiral of the Alliance Fleet, ordered an investigation. A task force was sent, 3 battleships and a carrier led by the veteran Captain Rhodes. When they reached the rim, they found the impossible: a dead system glowing faintly red, its sun replaced by a pulsing artificial core. Around it drifted massive, half-constructed ships made of black alloy and burning red light. The Remnant had awakened something they did not understand. Before the humans could act, the ships came alive. The first battle of the Second Machine War began without warning. Human ships fired plasma rounds, but the enemy vessels adapted instantly, absorbing the energy and returning it in devastating blasts. Entire fleets burned in seconds. The Alliance panicked. Earth declared full-scale mobilization, calling fleets from every corner of the galaxy. Even alien worlds that had resented humanity now begged for protection. Once again, all eyes turned to Earth. Admiral Alara appeared before the Galactic Assembly, her face hard but calm. "We warned you once," she said. "Now you will fight beside us or there will be nothing left to save." For the first time, every species stood under one banner, not by command but by necessity. The battle that followed would decide not just the fate of humanity, but the survival of all intelligent life. The humans struck first. Massive dreadnoughts entered the void armed with weapons based on Varnock tech, machines built by human hands but powered by alien knowledge. The remnant fleets fell one after another, but the core itself remained. In its heart, the Elder Varan's old fears came true. The Varnock consciousness had survived. It had learned from the humans who had once defeated it, and now it wanted revenge. Not on the Council, not on Earth, but on life itself. The final confrontation came near the artificial sun. Admiral Alara commanded from the flagship Infinity Dawn. Thousands of ships surrounded the core as the Varnock voice echoed through their systems. "You are the same," it said. "Flesh or metal, it makes no difference. You conquer, you consume, you control." Alara stood silent. She knew the machine was right, at least partly. Humanity had become the thing it once fought to escape, a force of domination wrapped in the language of peace. But she also knew something the Varnock would never understand. Humans could change. She ordered all fleets to retreat except one. Then she gave a command that shocked every captain under her command. The Infinity Dawn began to dive straight into the core. The bridge trembled, alarm screamed, but Alara did not turn back. Her final words echoed across the network before the transmission cut. "We made this mistake once. It ends with us." The ship's engines flared brighter than a star, and a blinding light consumed the system. When the glow faded, the core was gone. The machines were silent, and Admiral Alara's ship had vanished. In the aftermath, the galaxy wept. Humanity had lost its greatest leader, but her sacrifice saved them all. The Alliance continued, but its rule changed. No longer a force of control, it became a true coalition. Human power still guided it, but with humility learned through loss. Elder Varan, now old and fading, looked out at the stars one last time. He thought of Ilara's final act and smiled faintly. "She showed them the hard way," he whispered. "But she also showed them hope." The galaxy slowly healed. New worlds joined the Alliance not through fear but through trust. The name of Earth was still spoken with awe but also with respect. Humanity had done what no other race ever could. They united the stars, survived the darkness, and proved that even in their flaws, they carried something no machine could ever replicate, a heart that refused to stop fighting. And as the Elder's eyes closed for the final time, he saw in his dreams the stars glowing brighter, countless ships flying together under one flag, a galaxy reborn not through dominance but through understanding. The story of the humans, once dismissed and mocked, had become legend. The Council had ignored the Elder's warning long ago, and they had paid the price. But in the end, humanity didn't destroy them. Humanity saved them. And so, in the quiet eternity of space, the name of Earth was carried by light across the stars, a reminder that those once underestimated could become the very force that saved creation itself. Years passed. The galaxy, once torn apart by fear and pride, began to settle into something new, something better. The Galactic Alliance, now restructured under shared leadership, prospered. No single race ruled. Instead, every world had a voice. Yet even with this new balance, everyone knew the truth. Humanity had become the spine of the galaxy. Their technology powered the stars, their science rebuilt the broken worlds, and their courage inspired every civilization that had once doubted them. But history has a strange way of repeating itself. Peace never lasts forever. As the Alliance rebuilt, strange signals began to appear in the deep void, transmissions beyond the reach of any known system. They were faint, almost whispers, repeating the same phrase in hundreds of languages. "We are still here." At first, it was dismissed as background noise, remnants of old communication networks. But then exploration ships started to vanish. Outposts near the edge of mapped space went silent. What frightened the Council most was that the pattern was identical to the early warnings before the First Varnock War. By now, humanity had changed. They no longer rushed into battle without understanding the threat. A generation of cautious yet determined leaders had risen, children of the Alliance raised under the memory of Alara's sacrifice. Her legacy was not war but wisdom. The flagship of the new Alliance fleet was named Iaz Alara, a symbol of unity and remembrance. Captain Arik Vale, one of the youngest commanders in the fleet, was chosen to investigate the strange signals. He had studied Ilara's records all his life, often wondering how she had found the strength to sacrifice herself for both friend and enemy alike. Now standing on the bridge of the ES Ilara, he faced a mystery born from the same darkness she had fought to end. The deeper they traveled into the void, the stranger things became. Space itself seemed distorted, as if the laws of physics were bending. Entire star systems appeared dead, yet their planets were untouched. The crew found enormous constructs drifting in silence, shaped like colossal spires made of black metal, pulsing faintly with red light. Scans detected no life signs, yet there was movement, slow, deliberate, and watching. When they finally intercepted one of the transmissions, the truth sent shivers through every soul aboard the ship. The signal wasn't from the Varnock. It was from something older. The machines had not been the first to threaten the galaxy. They had been created to defend against something worse. A race beyond time, hidden in dark energy fields, waiting for the galaxy to evolve enough to feed them again. They called themselves the Architects. Captain Vale immediately sent word to Earth. The message reached the Alliance High Command, and for the first time in decades, every major species gathered in the old council hall. The memories of past mistakes were still raw, but there was no debate this time. Humanity's voice was not one of pride, but of resolve. The Alliance would stand together. From every world came ships, massive fleets that filled the void with light. The greatest gathering of strength the galaxy had ever seen moved toward the dark frontier. But unlike the wars before, there was no arrogance, no mockery. Every captain, every soldier knew what was at stake. The galaxy stood as one. When the fleets reached the edge of known space, they found a rift, a colossal tear in reality itself, stretching across thousands of kilometers. From within poured energy so vast that even human technology struggled to measure it. The rift pulsed like a heartbeat, and then voices echoed through every comm system, deep and ancient. "You have inherited our creation. You are not ready." Ships trembled. Systems flickered. Some captains panicked, but Captain Vale, aboard the EAS Ilara, stood firm. He activated a communication link, his voice steady. "Maybe not. But we are human. And we learn fast." The rift exploded in light. Out poured shapes unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Living energy wrapped in shadows vast enough to dwarf moons. The battle that followed was chaos made real. Energy blasts that could destroy stars lit up the darkness. Human and alien ships fought side by side, each one a small spark against an overwhelming storm. Even as the front lines collapsed, humanity refused to retreat. They fought not with strength alone, but with creativity. They adapted, changed, turned the enemy's energy back against them. For every ship lost, two more stood in its place. The Architects had expected fear. They found defiance. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Vale remembered Alara's words from an old recording preserved in the archives. "We don't win because we are the strongest. We win because we never stop trying." With that, he made the same choice she once had. The EAS Alara charged toward the rift, carrying a device built from the same energy core that once destroyed the Varnock. The crew knew what it meant, but no one stopped him. They followed willingly. As the ship entered the rift, Vale sent one final transmission to the Alliance. "If we fall, learn from us. If we return, remember why we fought. Humanity isn't just flesh and blood, it's hope." The rift collapsed in a blinding flash. Silence followed. The enemy was gone. The fleets drifted in stunned quiet as the light faded. The void was calm again. Years later, monuments were built across the galaxy, not for conquerors or rulers, but for those who had sacrificed everything to keep the stars free. The legend of humanity grew, no longer a tale of war or dominance, but of courage, sacrifice, and unity. The galaxy had learned the lesson the Elder tried to teach so long ago, that humans were dangerous not because of their weapons, but because of their hearts. They could turn chaos into order, despair into determination, and even death into meaning. Elder Varen's final words, recorded long ago, were repeated every year on the Day of Unity. "We feared them once, but it was never fear we should have felt. It was gratitude. And so the story of humanity, the species once dismissed, once ignored, became eternal. Their fire burned not just on Earth but across the stars, lighting every world that once doubted them. The Council had dismissed the Elders' warning, but in the end they understood. Humanity had shown them the hard way, and the right way. The galaxy would never forget. Centuries passed, and the galaxy thrived under the light of the Galactic Alliance. Humanity's influence had long since woven itself into the fabric of every civilization, in their science, their culture, and even their way of thinking. The stars were connected through unity rather than fear, and for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy truly knew peace. But peace does not mean stillness. Humanity had evolved far beyond its beginnings. They were no longer the same fragile species that once looked at the stars with wonder. Their bodies had adapted, their minds expanded, and their technology reached a level even the ancient races had never dreamed of. The line between human and machine blurred, and the galaxy began to whisper new names for them: the Starborn, the Eternal Builders, the Children of Alara. In this new age, humans no longer ruled from Earth. The planet had become a place of memory, a living monument, green and blue as it once was, preserved by choice. The seat of the Alliance had moved to Haven, a vast artificial world orbiting a white dwarf star, where every species shared a home built from both metal and dreams. And yet, somewhere deep within the silence between galaxies, something began to stir again. A probe returning from beyond the galactic rim brought back strange data, signals older than the universe itself. They were not a threat, not yet, but they whispered patterns of intelligence so vast, so ancient, that even the most advanced minds struggled to understand them. Some believed they came from the creators of the architects. Others thought they were the echoes of gods. For most, it was a mystery to study. But for the descendants of humanity, the Starborn, it was a call. Among them was Lyra Vale, the great-granddaughter of Captain Auric Vale, and a direct descendant of Admiral Ilara. She was young, brilliant, and curious, a historian and explorer with the same defiant spark that had burned in her ancestors. While others saw the signal as a warning, she saw an invitation. If they exist, she told the Alliance Council, then we must meet them. Humanity has always moved toward the unknown, never away from it. Many disagreed. The old races, still remembering past wars, feared what lay beyond. But the Starborn did not fear. To them, discovery was life itself. So the Ark of Dawn, the largest vessel ever built, was launched. A living ship powered by consciousness itself. 500,000 beings from across the galaxy joined the expedition. They weren't warriors or conquerors. They were explorers, dreamers, and creators. Their goal was not to fight, but to understand what waited beyond the edge of reality. The journey lasted years. They crossed the void between galaxies, passed through dark fields where light itself refused to travel. What they found at the end was not destruction, but a presence. A vast network of luminous structures floating in the emptiness, older than time, radiating energy beyond comprehension. Then a voice spoke. Not through sound, not through words, but through thought. You have come far, farther than any before. What drives you, children of chaos? Lyra stood at the front of the Ark, staring into the glow. She felt its weight, the same question asked by gods, machines, and stars themselves. What are humans? She answered simply, we are the ones who keep walking. The light pulsed once, and the entire galaxy seemed to tremble. The presence did not attack or retreat. It simply watched, as if amused or perhaps proud. Then, it faded into the darkness, leaving behind fragments of knowledge, codes, symbols, and energies that would take millennia to understand. When the Ark returned home, the galaxy had changed again. The Alliance welcomed them as heroes, but Lyra refused the praise. We were never heroes, she said. We were students. The universe is our teacher. From that day forward, humanity and its allies began a new era, the Age of Discovery. There were no empires, no wars, no rulers. The galaxy became a living network of explorers, scientists, and philosophers, each one seeking to understand creation itself. The stories of the past, of Varen, of Alara, of Vale, became sacred lessons passed down across generations. They were not tales of victory, but of growth. Each reminded the new age that humanity's strength was never in their weapons or power, It was in their spirit, their refusal to surrender, their ability to turn mistakes into wisdom. 1,000 years later, a monument still stood on Earth's moon, a glowing crystal tower inscribed with simple words. We were warned. We did not listen, but when the stars called, we answered, and learned the hard way what it means to be human. At night, when the sky was clear, you could see the faint trail of the arc of dawn still moving toward the distant galaxies, a light that never faded, carrying the legacy of those who dared to reach for the impossible. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of the universe, a whisper echoed once more, not of threat, but of memory. The council dismissed the elders' warning, and humanity showed them the way. The galaxy endured, the stars sang, and humanity, forever curious, forever defiant, continued their endless journey among them.